ahead and call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June the 3rd. Let it reflect that it is 5:40. We just got a quorum, so that's why we were late. You take roll call, please.
Okay, Commissioner Romero?
Here.
Chairman Garcia?
Here.
Commissioner Durham?
Here.
And Commissioner DeBay?
Here.
We have 4 out of the 7, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First from staff, is there any additions or deletions from the agenda that we have in front of us?
No additions or deletions.
Okay. How about from the board? Is there any questions or changes that you see?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll second it. I think I heard his.
There was a first, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All the ayes have it. Next item is citizen forum. This is where any citizens within the community that would wish to talk to the commission about any issues out there. We allow 5 minutes for that. If it's something within one of the items that's on the agenda, we request that you wait till then to make your presentation or comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on some other issue with reference to planning and zoning? Okay. None noted. We'll go ahead and go to the next item on the agenda. And these are public hearings. And the first hearing is item 6A, which is PZ2015-26 Variance. And this is in reference to property owners Amos and Adina Rivera with Agent Matthew Rivera Sr. are requesting a variance to convert the non-conforming carport into a garage and to build a sunroom behind and attached to a non-conforming carport, approximately 0.462 acres. The subject property is located at 353 Vegas de Taos Court, and is located in R4 residential zone within the town limits of the Town of Taos. What I would like to hear from is from staff first, in reference to the variance, and then we'll have the applicant come forward.
Sure, this application is for a variance, as you just read, to enclose an open or semi-open carport that currently is within the required setback. The reason for the variance is twofold. One, the applicant has informed us that when this structure was originally built, there was a variance issued. We have no record of it. That's not to say that it wasn't issued. But it would be good for that reason to get a variance on the work that's being done now. Also, the effect of the proposed modifications are to make a non-conforming structure a little bit more non-conforming. So that's why the variance is before you. The building permit request is also to build a sunroom behind the non-conforming carport. That structure, that portion of the house will not be in the setback. It's only the existing carport, and the footprint of the building will not change with respect to the non-conforming carport portion. That being said, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them, or if you would like to direct any questions to the applicant is in the audience.
Is it the agent or the applicant?
The agent.
The agent, okay. Why don't we hear from the agent, and so he can do a presentation, and then from there we'll open it up to the commission if there's questions. All right? Please come to the podium, and they'll swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name.
My name is Matthew Rivera Sr.
Okay. So give us a little bit of insight of what you're trying to do, or what the family's trying to do.
Okay, I'll give you a brief history. The carport that we're discussing is within the, does encroach into the setback, and after a conversation with the owners of the property, my parents, they're firm in their belief that a variance was requested and granted, and a permit was applied for when this carport was built. Neither the Town of Taos or my parents can produce a copy of that. It's been about 15 years, and as I understand it, the record-keeping requirements for the Town of Taos planning and zoning go back about 10 years. So that's what led to this step, and we want to do this in the proper way. We want to turn the carport as it is and enclose the sides and the back wall and put a garage door on the front. There will be no additional construction in any direction, with the exception of the sunroom that we plan to build in a second phase that is going from this same structure into the east, into the backyard, and that structure is well outside of the property setback requirements. So that's basically where we're at and what we're trying to do.
Any questions from the commission?
What's the square footage on the sunroom that you're going to be putting in?
Let me see. I do have the square footage of the sunroom. Let me just determine what that is.
Now, the sunroom is not requiring any kind of variance, am I correct?
Yes.
That's true.
Pretty much it's a non-issue at that point. I mean, I really don't. If
Yeah,
it's going to be below the 120 square feet too, I don't even think a permit would be required.
And I'll find the measurements of the sunroom. I just had more of the measurements of the.
There's really no need to answer
Okay.
that at this point. But
Yeah.
I did go by the house and I saw what you guys are trying to do.
Okay.
Or as far as, you know, with the garage and stuff.
What our goal is, yes.
And it's all existing. I don't see no change.
Yeah, it is all existing, and it's on the photos, aerial photos, and the property taxes. Everything's been part of that for 15 years since it was built.
Any
Have a
questions?
question?
Yes.
Yeah. I was confused for just at the beginning when I
Yes,
saw sunroom, because I thought that was an open thing, you know, where you just have, this is going to be a bedroom, right?
No, the sunroom is just going to be to have some plants and to use as a study with some windows. That's it. It's not going to be a bedroom. There will be no plumbing there, with the exception of possibly a baseboard heater. It's not a bedroom. It's not being built or requested as a bedroom. And the carport is just going to be enclosed to become a garage.
Okay.
So that will not be a bedroom either. There'll be no water in there, no plumbing. Very straightforward.
Any other questions? I do have a question for staff, and it's not directed towards this application, but don't we keep these variances and some of these approvals, shouldn't we destroy them after 10 years? Shouldn't there be some documentation, so if we have to go back to research, there's a way of finding out if that approval took place?
Yes, and I think that there should, even if the record is destroyed, there should be a database kept, because you need to know what has happened on a particular property, whether there was a conditional use or a variance. That being said, there have been quite a few people in charge of the planning department over the last 10 years, and records probably haven't been kept as well as they should have been. From this point forward, we can only move forward. There will be records kept of everything, and if records are destroyed, there will at least be a database entry that states a variance was given in this particular case and the nature of the variance.
So if they were able to supply documentation, or the town was able to find the documentation, would this be coming to the planning and zoning at this time?
Yes, I would, if this application came in, I would still recommend that a variance be issued, because in fact, what's happening here is a non-conforming structure is becoming more non-conforming. So it would require another variance. There may be some circumstances, though, where that's not the case. So it would be good to have a record.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Nothing is ever cookie cutter.
Now, is there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak on behalf of this issue? None noted. Any other comments from the commission? If not, do I have a motion on this item? Okay.
I would like to move approval of variance request PZ 2015-26.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
There's a first, a second. Will you take roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Chairman Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes.
and Commissioner DeVay.
Yes.
4.
Okay.
Yes.
No, because it passed. Next item on the agenda is the continuation of case number PZ 2015-3-PUD. And this is the property owner for Director LLC, Asa Rizzoni, with Agent Mark Yarvis, as requesting a planned unit development overlay with 69% usable open space and a density bonus of 4.83 plus or minus acres, located in La Posta Road at Ranchitos Road in the R4 zone within the town limits of Town of Taos. Is there a representative? I don't see Mr. Yarvis here. Do you know if he was going to attend?
He did not indicate one way or the other whether or not he was going to be here. He did send me an email that, and I can read it to you if you'd like. It says, we're still gathering information for the amended PUD application for the La Posta apartment project, and we will require a continuance to the July P&Z meeting. We cannot submit until early June. One of the things that, as you can see, one of the things that they're asking for is a density bonus. And the way a density bonus is typically calculated is to send, and our code reflects this, is to create a standard traditional subdivision layout to show how many units you can in fact get, and inform them that they'll need to do that as one of the things that they're preparing, and I'm assuming they don't have that done yet.
Okay. I believe there's some people in the audience that might be wanting to speak to this, or they were just attending to see what the presentation was going to be. So let me ask, do either one of you want to speak at this time? Or
I just have a question. You were...
Sorry, you'll have to come up to the podium.
That's okay. No problem.
They will swear you in.
Do you sort of tell the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Please state your name.
My name is Jerome Lucero. I just had, you asked the developer last time, or 2 months ago, to do a traffic study. I want to know if that's been done. And also, I drove around the neighborhood. I saw counters there on Camino del Medio, but that was all the amount of counters that I saw, and it was only there for 2 or 3 days. To me, a traffic study needs to know where the traffic is going on Ranchitos, on La Posta, on Camino del Medio. So it appeared to me that that traffic study, if done, was incomplete. So that's the only thing I want to say. And then I wanted to see what the developer was going to say today. So that's, I don't want to stand in the way of this gentleman. They have a right to do what they want, but I think that you need to try to hold them accountable as best you can, including what I said last time about the low water pressure on my property at the end of Put Out the Lane. So I think you need to pursue those things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bringing this stuff up just to bring it up.
We understand that, and I think you've heard us ask some of those questions as well, so. As they've indicated, it sounds like he's still gathering more information. I'm unaware if there's a traffic study done or not. I don't know if the planning typically.
I don't know definitively either. I don't believe there's been a traffic study done. I believe what the developer referred to the section of the code. He's asking for 28 units, and that's the cutoff for the requirement of a traffic study. A traffic statement can be prepared by a professional engineer that says whether or not a full-blown traffic study would be warranted based on whatever information and requirements they need. I've seen the letter stating that no traffic study would be required, there'd be no net effect.
By
I don't-
whom? Who said that?
I don't know the name of the engineer, it was a professional engineer in New Mexico, but we do have the letter. Is the letter in the form? I can tell you exactly who it was.
Was it Terry Brown? I think it was part of our packet.
It was probably part of your
And
packet.
it says no study should be required according to this letter.
Yeah,
Was
but-
it Terry Brown? Was that the?
Terry Brown, yeah.
Excuse me here, but just to give you a little bit more clarification, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Lucero, I was the one that raised a lot of heck with the applicant last time about the traffic study.
Yeah.
We had asked for a traffic study even before that meeting. He came back with a statement that basically said, I don't have to do it because I've only got 28 units. So I went on record as saying, I don't care if you've got 28 or 38, it's not an issue of the number, it's the safety of those intersections. So after the meeting, he kind of off the record asked me, well, if I drop my number to 28, are you going to still want a traffic study? And I said, absolutely. So the last word he got was that he had to do a traffic study. So I'm with you, and I guess I have a comment for staff. He has asked us to continue this to the July meeting, but if he hasn't furnished a traffic study or some of the other required application requirements, I'm not comfortable with letting him go forward in July. So is it possible to continue to do an open-ended continuation?
We can do an open-ended continuation.
What is your cutoff? In other words, to meet the July meeting, don't you have a certain date that new information has to be?
Monday, isn't it?
That was June 1st.
Oh, it was June 1st, okay, so the cutoff.
I would be happy to recommend a continuation to a date uncertain. He needs to get that information.
Excuse me, Commissioner, my understanding was you have to place a date, you can't keep it open-ended. I mean, if you want to push it off to August, that's the preview of the commission, but I think the town attorney mentioned that you need to put a date of when that continuance is at. So,
That's my understanding as well. I don't think
Then-
you even understand.
yeah,
Just don't-
Then I'm not comfortable giving him July 1st if he hasn't furnished the traffic report.
I think.
There is that statement.
But that came before the last meeting, Louis. We received that before the last meeting.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question to staff. I mean, are we within our legal bounds to require a traffic study? I'd like to see it done myself just because of the area, but does this
That's what
turn
I need
into a
to be
legal
certain
issue?
of. What we can't do is make or place a requirement on them that's more strict than what our code allows. I really need to confer with the town attorney to make sure before we place that requirement on the applicant. But if they are technically meeting the letter of the code, I don't believe we have the ability to go beyond that.
Mr. Lucero, just not to be the horse, with this, no action can be taken tonight.
No, I understand.
So it's going to be continued. So those are areas that we've brought up, and we'll follow up, and our staff will be checking with legal as well to see what we have within our bounds to require. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I was just going to add, Louis, my interpretation of the code was that a traffic study is required at 30 units or more. But that doesn't mean we or staff cannot ask for a traffic study that's less than 30 minutes. And
That very well may be the case.
And that's the question I think that needs to be reviewed with Floyd Lopez.
And that very well may be the case. I just don't, I wouldn't want to give an answer to that right now without
I agree.
thoroughly researching the law behind it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
But
you.
that's a very valid point.
I want to add to the fact that this letter came from a fellow who is, if I can read it, civil and transportation engineering. He is an engineer. And so he's saying that, no, it's not required. So I don't know what you do with that.
That's why developers hire professionals to get letters like that.
Yeah.
It's hard, and when you're not an engineer, it's hard to question
Is he a
And,
certified
you know,
engineer?
it's not, those streets are poorly constructed. They're all narrow, there's no real shoulder there, there's no sight plan or plane that you can be safe at.
Yeah.
I mean, you take your life in your hands by just trying to get turned and get out of that intersection.
Mr. Bay, I don't want us to go further into this. We don't have representation on the other side. We're not going to be acting on it.
Right.
I think we need to leave it at this point now. If we have any concerns or issues that maybe we want the planning and zoning to look into, one is the traffic study, shoot your email to Louis, and he can check into that or any other issue that's out there. But I think what our discussion needs to be is how much longer do we want to extend this going forward? We've been dealing with this since the latter part of last year.
2014.
Yeah.
I want to mention this because Donna just brought it up. The town attorney's not here, so I'm a little bit hesitant to suggest it, but I think it's within your purview to even deny it at this point if you want. You can continue it to a date certain, you can deny it, and they can resubmit.
I think at some point, Mr. Chair, we need to at least deny it and let him start over instead of bringing us bits and pieces that we've had over the 6-8 months.
I kind of agree with that, Mr. Romero, just because he's changed it so many times, and there has been documentation that we've requested and the planning and zoning has requested, and it seems like we just get bits and pieces. I'm confused of what we're really looking at. A critical piece is dealing with the bonus issue. I have a little bit of an issue with that in R4, but it doesn't mean that it's a no. But I'm just confused of what. I think we've seen 3 or 4 different types of projects that they were looking at doing, and I think that it might be to our best be more transparent for everybody involved, including the neighbors, to just deny it because and ask him to bring a complete package that we can all look at, plus the community can look at as well to understand what they're trying to do. That's my opinion. I don't know what you feel. We can certainly do a continuation. I won't be here in July. Doesn't seem like he's going to be able to despite the information that was requested out there as well. There is another, would you like to speak, Mr. Script?
I have one question about that traffic study or that engineer. Does he have a PE stamp on the letter?
Yes, the letters.
And he would have the opportunity to appeal our decision and over to city council, correct, if he doesn't agree with, if we do decide to deny.
Well, I think we need to state, if we do make that decision, I think we need to state why we're denying it. And it's the lack of information. So I don't know if you would go through an appeal process or just come back and supply the documentation that's needed to do a proper presentation.
I just see that
There is an appeals process available to him.
Just that every month he's really come to us with a change, or he'll submit a change as we're speaking, and staff is continuously changing for him without him having a final plan to present to us. And it's becoming quite frustrating, actually, to be up here with that month after month with him, and it's not fair to him because he can't answer that right now, but I kind of agree with everybody here, is that we need to take some action on this by the next meeting.
Either way. Mr. Strzok, something, will somebody support him then? So we can...
Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your name.
He's not struck.
I feel the same way that Mr. Romero. We've been dealing with this problem since last year. But my biggest concern is that an R4 with a bonus, I haven't seen it at all through the town. If you give a bonus, that means that he's dealing with an R6. And an R6 was denied by this commission 4 or 5 months ago, or something like that. So he came back with a R4 with a bonus, and I still don't figure out how he can get a bonus on an R4 or an R6.
The density bonus comes into play when the applicant requests a plan unit development. And the code states that the density bonus that you're allowed is related to how much open space you intend to preserve. If there is a minimum of 30% usable open space, you can get a 30% density bonus and an increase of 10% for every additional 10% of open space that you can preserve. That's the way the code reads. The code also states that a density bonus can be given for a certain number of the units being designated as affordable. So those are, although there aren't any specific numbers attached to the affordable housing requirement, but that more or less is what the code says.
You're right. I agree with you. But my question is that some of that area is already dedicated to the power company, or if there's a road there. So basically, there's no use for it. So they can view as an open space.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Land use issues are never black and white. There's always shades of gray.
The other question that I have is that there's the zoning commission requested a traffic study from the last meeting that was here. And he agreed that if you give him a month, he would come up with it. But still haven't seen it. I think you're right. We're going round and round and round with him, and I still don't know where he's coming and going. And I agree with you. I mean, if he needs to start from scratch, he needs to start from scratch. But I have no question with the R4. The one that I question is the the bonus. Basically, he tried to get the bonus because the R6 was denied by this commission. So if you give him an R4 with a bonus, that means it's going to have more than an R6 into it. And if you do that, the future projects will be interpreted because everybody's going to be an R4 and an R6 with a bonus. And I think that's not the intention of the federal zoning.
Yes.
We, or I in particular, made it very clear to him that the intent of the code for the bonus was to give up developable land. He's got to give something up in order for us to give him the bonus, and that we would not count wetlands or non-developable land. You know, that's not the intent of the density bonus. So he's been told that, and I would suggest that along with the traffic issue you discussed with the attorney, that staff and the attorney put together their thoughts and position on this density bonus, because I know it's going to be an issue. And, you know, we all have our opinion, but
sure.
We want to do what's legal.
You're right. These are things that are open to interpretation.
Thank you, Mr. Strzok.
That's the only question I had. I mean, once you give a bonus to a realtor or somebody's building, they're going to come back and say, well, you give it to the other person, why not us?
Mm-hmm.
You must also throw the code out the door.
Okay, thank you. I do not want to discuss or debate this anymore, just because we don't have representation from the applicant itself. I think the issue here is either to decide on a continuation or to decline it. So I open it up to the commission and give me what you feel might be the appropriate thing to do.
I got a question is, do we deny the continuance or what are we denying? I mean, did he
Denying the continuance would be denying
The case.
the case.
And did he make a formal request for continuance within a maybe?
He
I know that we-
requested a continuance to the July meeting, yes.
But again, just so I understand, he's missed the timeline to submit for the July meeting, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Any information that he would get now has missed that June 1st deadline, am I correct?
Yes, he has missed the July deadline.
Okay. So again, if we're going to grant a continuation, I would suggest to August, the August
Maybe
meeting.
today, right? Today would have been the deadline,
Today's June
Today's
1st.
the third.
It would have been, it was June 1st.
because it's 30 days.
It's
30 days, so it would have been June 1st. So yes, the deadline has been missed.
Okay.
We could be nice and accept it.
I had a question too. Since it's a continuation, do they have to follow that again? Because they don't have to notice it again, and they don't have to send it, mail out to the adjacent property owners, because it's a continuation, it just automatically continues to a date specified.
Again, I'm not I'm not the attorney, but I believe that they would need to notice it again. Because it's a new hearing, and you have to notice people that there's going to be a public hearing. So whether or not it was a new submission or a continuance, it would need to be noticed.
If we decide, and again, I'm not an attorney either, but if we decide to do a continuance to August, we can make it, I think we can make it subject to notification to the neighbors that this continuance was being August. I don't know if that's something that's acceptable, and if
You can
guys-
do that. As a staff person, I would require that it be noticed. I think it's hard to continue something and then not tell somebody when it's continued to.
Yeah.
I believe it's proper due process to.
But I believe Dinah's right, that if it was continued to a date certain, he didn't have to notice for this. So, if we lean in that direction and say August, then I'd like to add that stipulation with notification of the neighbors.
And if we just continue it till July is requested, in July we could act on the lack of what we've been discussing earlier as far as, I just would like to see a point where he has to come in with a final packet as we continue to go forward and grant the continuances to, a following month. Will he have everything prepared at that time?
Did we share with him that if he didn't supply the information by the June 1st date, that it would be put on the July meeting? Did we share
No,
that?
because as far as my understanding was that they didn't have to notice it again.
Okay,
And
so-
I believe that came up at the last meeting, and Rick had told him that something about that he didn't have to send the letters certified, he can just send them regular mail, because it was already noticed, because it was a continuation to the last meeting, so.
Mr. Chairman, that's right, but the town agreed to send out the notices to the landowners or people that within the two.
That's correct, yeah.
And we never did get one for this meeting.
Okay.
I prefer to err on the side of caution with notifications. I like to see them certified. I like to see them done for every hearing. And that way there's no uncertainty.
So, just to be, courteous to both sides and to the public, the neighbors, and then to the applicant, I'm thinking that maybe a continuance and maybe to August, because he's most likely unaware that what has been done in the past where they could bring bits and pieces of the information to us. I hate to see this in July and not have a packet. So, 60 days is more than ample time to get what he needs to get. And I think at that point, we need to make a decision, yes or no, at that date. And if he doesn't supply the information, I think that will help us make our decision. But I think stipulating notification to the surrounding neighbors should be placed on that continuance to the August meeting. that, you know, that's a recommendation, but if somebody wants to put that as a motion, or if there's some other type of motion somebody would like to place, that's fine too.
Discussion before motion, I guess. I agree with that. I wasn't leaning towards the August deal, but now after hearing the argument and stuff, I would be willing to make a motion on that, and then at that point in August gives us a reason to act as far as whether we approve or deny if he doesn't come forward with a packet. But I think as a commission, we owe it to the public out there to make a decision on this and force the developer to come in with a final plan, with a plan. I mean, not just bits and pieces of one. And I agree with sending out the stipulation with the mailings. So, you know, that said, I would be willing to entertain a motion to do that.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion to continue the line.
A second, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have closed the public comments, so we're just gonna go forward with what you can share, you know, apologize if you had any other questions, but we've already had a motion.
Just the one question was, who's gonna make sure that what was talked about here today, this traffic study, and you guys have some kind of an internal review with your attorney as to whether you want to require that? What if he comes in August and says, I don't have to do a traffic study?
It's gonna be his choice. You know, he has to bring a complete package, and there has been shared with him in reference to a study would, like a traffic study would be encouraged, but right now we don't know if we can require that. It's his choice, and then when we have a meeting in August, that decision will be made then. But they will share that he has to bring a complete package to the August meeting.
And also, just as a point of process, the planning commission makes a recommendation to city council on the plan unit development application. You could recommend the denial, but if you do recommend denial, it doesn't stop here. They have the right to go to city council. And city council could either agree or disagree.
I would highly encourage somebody from there to get with the neighbors in that area and come and speak out. I mean, if we don't have nobody speaking in favor of a traffic study, or to get the developer to do an out of just mere courtesy, if there's only a couple of people in the neighborhood where there's got to be at least 50, 60 neighbors, I think that, you know, these people need to come forward and speak also. I mean, we can't hear a word that's not being screamed to us.
Thank you, Romero. We do have a first and second on the table. Will you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Chairman Garcia,
Yes, we did say to August, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes.
and Commissioner DeBate.
I'm going to vote yes too, but I want to be sure that the conditions are included in that.
In the motion, in reference to notification of the neighbors, and basically notification to the applicant too, of the extension, but this commission is asking for a complete package.
Complete package,
Yeah. Okay. So,
And the attorney's advice as far as the traffic study. Can we have something in writing?
I will try my darndest.
Can you find him?
And just for the record, that meeting is August 5th.
next item on the agenda is matters from the staff. Is there any other items?
Just that I have made the edits to the proposed medical marijuana ordinance per our work session meeting. It's considerably shorter than it was before. I've emailed it to all of you. It is basically a document that now simply regulates location, and I think you should look at it with an eye for determining whether or not where it's limited to is where you want it limited to.
Question, in reference to that ordinance, will that be on the agenda for July?
We could
And
place it.
action, or are we just gonna have a first reading kind of thing?
That's the preference of the planning commission. We could have another work session. We could place it on a regular meeting for action. We could have it on, it's just a discussion, and it's how you want to proceed with it.
Yes,
I've got a question, Louis. I received it, I have now read the revised version. Did you keep the part in there about permitting, the town's process for permitting?
No.
Don't you think that might be,
What,
or is that controlled by state statute too?
well, it depends what you mean by permit. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have it in there, but in terms of the operation of one of these facilities, making sure that they have all the proper documentation, that the background checks have been done, the state does all of that and issues them a permit to operate.
Oh,
So once they come to this body, they will need all of that.
I see.
And they'll show it to us, say, we're a legal entity, we've been approved by the state, here are the permits. That could be entered into the
Okay,
code.
because I remember there was a long section about if the permit is denied by the town manager, he has the right to appeal it to the council, and I don't know, sometimes I think that process is as important as anything else.
well, the only part, and I have read it as well, but the part that I do, and I understand Romero that does not want it too regulated and so forth, but we do need them to come into the town and say, we're opening business, and this is the location. How else will you know that? So we need to make sure that we have some of that language, or so they have to come to the town.
When they come to us for a business license,
Okay, all right.
that's when we would get all of the permitting information that's required by the state. So we can
Okay.
see that they're a legal entity, they can operate. With regard to an appeal process, it would just be like you denying pick a use
Mhm.
that requires a conditional use. And you denying it, they still have the right to go to city council for an appeal. So there is an appeal process open to them. We just wouldn't be in the permitting business according to the new revision.
Okay,
That scaled down one page one, that is the new revision, or
The new revision that I sent out to all of you basically takes out all of the regulation except for determining where to locate the facility.
that's at A, B, and C, and D,
Yes.
scaled down, real
Yes.
kind of, you could call it building.
I believe it was taking the
Down.
state's requirements, which is 300 feet from school, halfway house, etc., adding to that it can't be in a residential zone, it can only be in a C2, the high HCPD, or the M1. Those are the three zones that are in there. It can't be a home occupation. It can't be adjacent to a residential zone. So the question is that too strict? Is that too loose? I mean, that's the discussion.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of things. First of all, on the business license application, it does require all certification pertaining to that type of business that they're proposing to open. That is on the application, so they do have to submit that. The other thing is, to hear it for the July 1st meeting, we will have to have the notification into the Taos News by tomorrow. So I don't know if we're ready for that.
Well,
Legal ad.
it's an ordinance, and I think we have time. I mean, if we need to hold off till the August meeting, I think we're fine with that, unless you see.
Yeah, if someone were to come in tomorrow with an application for one, we would treat it as if it was a pharmacy. That's how it would be handled. So until such time that this ordinance is adopted, that would be the procedure, which is different than what we're proposing, but it's not radically different. I can't see a disaster unfolding between now and August.
According to, the lady was here, that the state automatically looks at the need before they even grant them permission to operate in a certain county. So it's not like we're gonna have 15 people coming to open without them proving the need to the, I don't know, I guess it would be the, I don't know what governing factor oversees them, but I know like when you're doing other things like taxing and stuff, PRC was the one that determines the need and stuff. So I don't think we're gonna have a bunch of people coming in without going through the state proving a need first. That process is gonna take a while for it.
I liked the first draft that you brought before us because it said something to the effect that please be aware that you're also subject to rezonings if necessary, business license, because I was sitting here wondering. Well,
That's still in there.
Good.
Yeah, that part
Good.
is still in there.
Good.
As is the part that says you need to understand, I'm paraphrasing, you need to understand that it's still illegal on the federal level and
Okay.
the town
Good.
accepts no liability for
Yeah.
your place being closed down by the feds, or, you know, that's in there too.
Good.
That's important to have. It's a disclaimer, essentially.
I didn't open it up on my computer because I don't have a printer. How many pages is your new deal?
It probably is it's an eighth of what it used to be.
It's like 8 pages.
Yeah, it's very short now. It's
In
quick.
other words, we could read it quickly and
Yes.
do it in July or not?
Well, I don't think there's any hurry. I think what's going on is the publication for the agenda could cause some issues in getting it out there. So the August date seems to be a better date to
Okay.
give the planning and zoning ample time to put it together.
All right. You want a motion?
No, we don't need, it's just a discussion item.
Okay.
Just a-
Yeah, we'll put that on the August agenda.
Okay.
Any other items from staff?
No, I believe that's all for now.
Okay, any items from the, next item is the matters from the planning and zoning. Is there any? The only thing, a comment I want to make, and, you know, I don't want to harp too much on this, and I think we have some very experienced people, such as yourself, presenting, but if there's an issue that you feel that there might be some legality issues, it would be nice to have the town attorney here. He was attending a lot of our meetings there for a while. He since has stopped, and it's difficult to, you know, to put you in the spot to give your opinion on that. So if you feel that, you know, there might be an issue in reference to an item on the agenda, if you can at least give him a courtesy invitation to ask him to attend. 'Cause it could be helpful.
And just one other quick too. When we were sitting here waiting to know whether or not we had a quorum, evidently people didn't call in and say, I'm not going to be there. Can we make that an issue to everybody, that they have to, for each meeting, either say yes or no?
I think you're 100% correct, and we'll send out a notice to the entire commission saying if you're not going to be here, we need to know.
Good.
Could we change the times to like 5:40? Just can't get here.
I don't see
I was
why
going to
not.
say 5.
If you wanted at 5:40, then let's-
No,
then you'll be here at 5:50.
yeah,
What I would do though is we do need to look at what the guidelines or policy for board members and number, their attendance and those kind of things. And if,
Consecutive missed meetings.
yeah, if there's a member that's doing that, we need to have that discussion with him and see if that person wants to still be on the commission, because it does put a burden on the rest of us not knowing we're gonna have a quorum.
And the public.
And the public, because we're putting the notice out there and people are attending and then not having a quorum. Thank goodness the 4 of us have attended the last 2 meetings, but you know, it puts a little bit of stress if we can have, you know, a little bit more.
as a courtesy to you guys, I'll text you. Sometimes just for me to get out of my office right at 5 to get over here. But I will, if I say I'm gonna be here, I'll be a few minutes late.
And we can live with the 10-15 minutes if we need to, you know, but, so just saying that, I won't be here for the July meeting, just so you're aware, because I'll be out of the state.
Okay, you don't have to send an email. No.
Okay, so-
We'll note it now.
It's
It's official.
on the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye.